Whether you're just starting uni or you're already there, you need to have a student bank account that works for you. So here's what you really need to be looking for, plus our pick of the best accounts this year. Hey guys, it's Tom here from Save the Student with our expert take on the best student bank accounts in 2023-24. Now, in this video, I'm going to be taking you through what student overdrafts are and why they're so important, if the freebies are worth it, plus our top picks for the best account this year. And we'll also be sharing some top tips on how to get the most out of your account. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe for loads more content like this. So I should probably start with a very quick, very brief explanation of what an overdraft is, just in case you don't already know. So really, it's like a buffer or a safety net on your bank account. That means when your balance drops below £0, you still have some money to spend. Then when you put enough money into your account, that means you go above £0 again, you are no longer in your overdraft. Because an overdraft is the bank's money, usually you'll be charged interest for using it. Now this can be up to 40%, which means that in general terms, it's one of the most expensive ways to borrow. But crucially, on a student bank account and your arranged overdraft, so that is the overdraft that you and the bank have agreed in advance that you can use. With that overdraft, there are no interest and there's no fees. So as a result, it's one of the safest, one of the most accessible, and one of the best forms of extra cash whilst you're at uni. And this is super important because our research has shown that the maintenance loan, so that's the part of your student loan that's designed to cover your living costs, is nowhere near enough. So unless you're able to fill that gap using part-time job or bursaries and scholarships, or if you're lucky, money from your parents, you will need the safety net of a student overdraft. So, as I've explained, this is not a normal overdraft, and while it is good to be wary of borrowing and overdrafts in general, this is one of the exceptions. That said, you will have to repay your student bank account overdraft at some point. So once you leave university, your student bank account will become a graduate bank account. Now with this, you get 1, 2, maybe even 3 years, if you're lucky, to repay your overdraft on the same terms as when you were a student. So that's no interest and no fees. And that's really, really helpful whilst you're looking for a job, trying to make some money. However, if you don't repay that overdraft in full by the time your graduate bank account becomes a normal bank account, you will start being charged interest on the remaining balance. Now, hopefully that won't be the case for you, but just in case it is, it's good to be aware of whilst you're borrowing from this source as a student. So I mentioned that once you graduate, your maximum overdraft allowance will shrink yearly. The opposite is actually true whilst you're a student. So most student bank accounts will offer you a larger maximum overdraft in years 2 or 3 or beyond if you're studying a longer course. Some will tier it within the first year, so you get more money in the second and third semesters, while a small number will technically offer you the maximum overdraft straight away. However, in most cases, you will have to request higher and higher amounts if you actually want to get there. It's also worth noting that while some banks offer a guaranteed overdraft of whatever amount, some others will offer you a maximum overdraft up to a certain amount. Now, when it is up to a certain amount, whether or not you get it will be dependent on your credit score, which is essentially a way of telling banks how reliable you are at borrowing and repaying money. As a student, you may not have the biggest credit history, and as a result, you potentially won't qualify for the maximum overdraft if what the account is offering is up to whatever figure. So as a result, it's definitely worth considering in advance whether you'd rather go for the security of a guaranteed overdraft amount, or if you'd rather go for up to whatever figure. So if you do decide that you want to go for an overdraft up to a certain amount, we definitely recommend checking your credit score first. And we actually have a guide on the website, which we've linked to in the description below, which explains how your credit score is calculated, what affects it, as well as how to check yours. So definitely give that a read first if that's the kind of overdraft that you want to go for. And even if you don't think you need the interest-free overdraft, I would say it's still worth getting. So firstly, even if you're financially comfortable right now, or you think you'll be financially comfortable whilst you're at university, you never know what might change, and it's good to have that buffer, that safety net there, just in case things go wrong at any point. Secondly, if you're able to, you could even take the interest-free overdraft allowance out of your student bank account and move it to a savings account to grow interest and earn money whilst you're at university. So let's say you get a savings account with 3, 4, maybe even 5% interest if you're lucky. You can take, let's say, £1,000 out of your student bank account overdraft, move it to your savings account whilst you're at uni, grow interest, earn money on it. Then once you graduate and it's time to repay that overdraft, take whatever money you need out of the savings account, repay the overdraft, and you still got that bonus, the interest that you've earned, as a little reward for you once you finish university. Now, it might not be loads and loads, but it's still better than nothing. Aside from the interest-free overdraft, the other big thing that you're going to want to look out for when you open a student bank account is the freebie that you get for doing it. Now, this can include anything from shopping vouchers to taste cards to rail cards and even cash. The total value of these freebies can sometimes be £200 or more, which sounds great on the face of it, but there are some things to consider. So first up, is it something that you want or even need? Or is it, for example, a subscription to a service that you know you're never going to use? Secondly, can you get the freebie for less than the bank is saying it's worth? So a good example of this would be rail cards, which often come with student bank accounts, but themselves are often on sale throughout the year. So the bank might say it's worth 30 quid a year, but in reality, you could get it for 20 quid or even 15 quid if you wait for a deal. Thirdly, are you more likely to need a bigger overdraft than whatever the freebie is? So let's say for argument's sake that the freebie actually is worth 200 quid. Surely it's more useful to you to have £1,000 extra in your interest-free overdraft than it is to have whatever that freebie is. So it's on that basis that we tend to recommend that the interest-free overdraft is what you focus on and not the freebie that comes with the bank account, particularly as I said earlier, our research suggests that the maintenance loan is almost never enough to cover your living costs as a student. Oh, and just a quick note to say that a couple of student bank accounts do advertise that they pay interest on your account if your balance is above £0, so if you're not in your overdraft, but the fact of the matter is these interest rates typically aren't very good. There are much better offers out there if you go to other dedicated savings accounts. So if you do want to take a look at some of those, if you're lucky enough to have some cash that you can put into savings, hit the link in the description of this video where we run through some of the best offers on the market right now. Now, before we get into our top picks for the best student bank accounts this year, it is worth noting that you can still switch even if you're a current student. So it's really important to get the best deal for you. You might not always qualify for the freebie that you get for opening the account, but assuming your credit score and all of that stuff is still okay, you should still be able to get the interest-free overdraft. So now that's out of the way, let's get into our top picks for the best student bank account this year. And remember, we have a link in the description of this video to our full guide, which goes through every bank's student account this year, plus what we think of each one. So first up in our top three, which is in no particular order, is Santander's 123 student current account. So you can see that Santander offers an overdraft of up to £2,000, but it is worth noting that that is capped at £1,500 for all of the first 3 years at your uni. So in most parts of the UK, 3-year degrees are the standard. That's not the case in Scotland. And obviously there are some medicine degrees, vet medicine degrees, which last longer than 3 years. But if you are doing the standard 3-year degree, you'll be capped at £1,500 for all of those years. It's also worth noting that this overdraft isn't guaranteed. It will depend on your credit score. But that said, most students will tend to get the full amount by their 3rd year. If you do go for this account, you'll need to deposit at least £500 per term into the account to get the overdraft. Although, again, that should be covered by your maintenance loan. The payments you get from that per term, or if you're from Scotland, each month, that should easily cover the £500 per term. And once you've done that, you'll get a 0% overdraft of 250 quid, which you can then request to be increased to up to £1,500 within the 1st year. So moving on to the sign-up incentive, Santander are offering a 4-year 16 to 25 rail card, which is worth about 100 quid. Now, this will save you a 1/3 off train travel within the UK, and if you live in London, you can link it to your Oyster card and then get a 1/3 off tube journeys too. So this is definitely something that's worth having. Some extra good news here is that unlike some other bank accounts where current students who switch won't receive the freebie, we've had confirmation that current students who are switching to this account may also be eligible. So that is really good to know. And a little final tip, if you want the freebie, but you also want a bigger overdraft, you could be sneaky, switch this account, wait for the free rail card to be awarded, which should be within about 60 days, and then switch to a different student bank account with an overdraft that's either guaranteed or has a larger maximum amount. So you might be wondering why Santander has made it into the top 3 this year, despite the fact that the maximum overdraft that they're offering is slightly lower than what some other banks are. So it's worth pointing out that although Santander's overdraft is up to a certain amount, from our experience of working on this kind of thing for quite a few years now, we think it's probably more likely that you'll get the full £1,500 from them than you would from another bank that's technically offering more. Now, on top of that, obviously the freebie that they're offering, the rail card, is pretty decent as well. But on top of that, it's worth noting that in our most recent student banking survey that we ran earlier this year, Santander came top in terms of student satisfaction. So they got a score of 4.15 out of 5, which was better than all of the other banks. So hopefully, should you choose to bank with Santander, you shouldn't have too many issues. So next up, we're going to take a look at HSBC's student bank account. HSBC are offering an overdraft of up to £3,000, which is one of the biggest you can get with any student bank account this year. And crucially, no matter what year you're in, you can get a £1,000 overdraft guaranteed. Now, it could rise to that £3,000 figure by your 3rd year, but any more than that initial £1,000 will of course depend on your credit score. The freebie, or should I say freebies that come in this account, are also pretty decent. So not only will you get a £100 cash bonus, you'll also get a 1-year subscription to Headspace, which is the meditation and mindfulness app. To get this and the £100 cash bonus, you'll need to make 5 debit card transactions within the first 30 days of opening your account, which should be pretty easy. There are also some more specific criteria related to things like residency, which you can read in our guide that, again, we've linked to in the description below. And then once you qualify for the offer, you should receive the £100 in your account within 30 days and the Headspace voucher code within 45 days. So I think it's pretty clear why HSBC is one of our top picks this year. They've got one of the biggest overdrafts on offer and they're offering some of the best freebies too. But I should point out that in that student banking survey I mentioned earlier, when it came to the student satisfaction scores, HSBC didn't do quite as well as some of their competitors. So they got 3.7 out of 5, which is kind of a middling score, all things considered. Now, hopefully, if you open an account with them, you won't encounter any issues, but this is something that's worth knowing in advance. And finally, we're going to take a look at RBS and NatWest's student bank accounts. Now, the reason we're looking at them together is that they're part of the same banking group, and so their two student bank accounts offer pretty much identical terms. So as you can see, both accounts offer a maximum overdraft of £3,250, but there are a couple of caveats to this. So not only is the overdraft limited to £2,000 in your first 2 years, but then on top of that, in your first term, it's capped even lower at £500. Although you could see that as a good thing, as it potentially stops you kind of burning through the entirety of your overdraft in Freshers Week. And then once you get to your third year, the cap jumps up to £3,250, and the chances of getting that are actually fairly high. Again, the freebies are exactly the same on both accounts, so as well as getting £100, you'll also get a 4-year taste card. You should receive both incentives within 10 days of opening your account, but there are a few things to know, so we'll kind of take them one by one. So firstly, right now, the £100 cash bonus is only available until the 30th of November 2023. So if you're watching this video after that date, you may have missed out on that one. Secondly, there are some other criteria that you'll need to meet regarding things like when your course started or if you've received a student bank account freebie before. So again, this is in the guide linked to in the description, so read that in advance. Finally, in terms of the taste card, this goes back to what I was saying earlier about can you get the freebie for less elsewhere. So usually a taste card costs $39.99 a year and it'll get you 2-for-1 meals at loads of restaurants. So 4 years of that in theory is worth 160 quid. But not only can you often get taste cards for less elsewhere, so sometimes they're on sale, sometimes you can get them through other partners. You can also get 2-for-1 meals at restaurants using Meerkat meals, which you can get by buying insurance through Compare the Market. We actually have a video on our channel explaining how you can unlock Meerkat meals for less than £1. So watch that video and don't necessarily let the taste card sway you on whether or not to go for an RBS or NatWest account. So again, I think it's pretty obvious why NatWest and RBS are both among our top picks for the best student bank accounts this year. Both have some of the biggest overdrafts on offer and both are offering pretty decent freebies, even with that caveat on the taste card. And on top of that, in terms of the student banking survey, both performed really, really well for student satisfaction. So NatWest got a score of 4.14 out of 5, while RBS got a score of 4.13 out of 5. So very, very close there, and both very close behind Santander as well. So really, in that respect, there isn't too much to pick between those three banks. Of course, there are other banks offering student accounts this year. So you can see here, Nationwide, Barclays, Halifax, Lloyds, TSB, and Co-op are all offering student accounts this year. The overdrafts range from a maximum of £1,500 all the way up to £3,000 with Nationwide. At the time of filming this video, though, no other banks offered freebies in the traditional sense. Although on the off chance that changes, we will update the guide, so make sure to give it a look. And I say no freebies in the traditional sense because a couple of the accounts, as you can see, do offer interest on your balance if you're in credit. But again, as I said earlier, the rates aren't that good. And if you are lucky enough to have some money for your savings, you'd be much, much better off putting it in a dedicated savings account elsewhere. And one final tip, although a student bank account is really good to have, in fact, I'd almost go so far as to say it's a necessity for your time at university because of things like the interest-free overdraft. I would also recommend getting a second account for your day-to-day spending, and for this, app-based and digital bank accounts are absolutely perfect. So each week or each month, you take X amount out of your student bank account and move it into your digital or app-based bank account, and you use that for your day-to-day spending, and you know that you can't go over budget because you only have X amount in the account. Now, on top of this, these accounts tend to have really, really good budgeting features and other things as well, which make it much easier to keep on top of your spending. So by having both accounts, you get all of the budgeting features of the digital account, plus you get to keep your interest-free overdraft and the freebies from your student bank account. So it really is the best of both worlds. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, head to the link in the description of this video where we run through all of the best app-based and digital bank accounts that you can join right now. And there you go. That's everything you need to know about the best student bank accounts in 2023-24. Remember, if you head to the guide in the description of this video, you'll get loads more info on all of the banks, plus advice on how to apply, the documents you might need when you do it, and what to do if you're an international student. And of course, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button for loads more like this.